Passing your CBT is great news, but what do you do after that? The best thing to do is to take your new bike to a car park and practice some of the fundamental skills that you learn on your CBT. This should be done immediately after passing, and maybe once a month or so after that. Practice these in the order that you learnt them on your CBT, since each one is going to build upon the last. The first thing to practice is your slow riding controls. This is a baseline for all of the exercises that come afterwards, like U-turns, sharp turns, pretty much anything like that. So I like to find a straight line like this one and see how slow I can go. So here I'm going about 5 miles an hour, and I'm using that straight white line on the left as a reference to see how straight I can keep the bike. I don't like to ride directly on top of the paint since it can get slippery if it's wet, so I like to ride next to it like this. Once I've run out of space, I'm going to go to a different part of the car park and basically practice the same thing. This part of the car park wasn't as nice, there was some leaves on the floor and that kind of thing, so you have to be a bit careful. But I still managed to go pretty slow here, and I even got a chance to practice turning slowly as well. So once you're done with this and you're comfortable with clutch control and using your rear brake to slow down, you can start practicing some of the other things. The next thing to practice are tight turns from a stop. So I'm going to start off practicing a sharp right turn, and the way I like to do this is to find a car parking spot like this one and pretty much pretend that that line is a stop line. So imagine that you're stopped at some lights or something and you're trying to turn right, and try and get that turn within one bay. Remember to do all of your checks, since this is an actual car park, there are cars driving around, so you want to check where you're going. For this one, I did manage to get it within one bay. Practice that a couple times. It doesn't matter if it takes you a couple of tries to get it within one bay. I've been riding for about 5 months now, so don't be disheartened if this turn looks different for you. Now I'm going to practice the same thing on the left. I'm just going to straighten the bike up here. And in the same way, check everything around you, check your mirrors, make sure there's no cars, and try and get a left turn within the width of that first bay. Here I didn't quite manage it, but I think that might have been because I was a little bit too far forward. But the left side is definitely my weak side, so I need to practice this a lot more. The next thing to practice is U-turns. This is something that I really struggled with on my CBT, so I like to get out there and practice it as much as I can. So first I'm going to try practicing a U-turn turning on my right, because that happens to be my stronger side. And I'm going to try and get this within about 3 or 4 car park bays. And I think I got it here within 3, not including the one that I started in. So I'm going to do this a couple of times, since this is one of my weaker maneuvers. Here I was conscious of that tree being in the way. You can move to a different spot if you don't feel comfortable, or just treat it like another obstacle, because there are these things in the real world. So here I was just practicing including the tree. But the next time I had a go, I moved over one bay to the left, just so it wouldn't be in the way, it wouldn't be distracting. Here I probably could have got this U-turn a little bit tighter, so the next time I do this I'm going to try and push myself a little bit more. Next you want to do the exact same thing, but on the other side. So if you started with the right, do the left U-turns. If you started with the left, do the right U-turns. The left side is my weak side for some reason, because I think most people struggle with turning right. So I spent a little bit more time practicing these. Although it was a bit of a pleasant surprise when I actually did it. It wasn't as difficult as I thought it was going to be. So it's worth getting out there and practicing, even if you're nervous. But you can definitely see at the end there that I'm a lot less confident on this side. Here I'm going to do the exact same thing. You can see that every time you do it, it gets a little bit easier and your confidence grows. This is why I recommend doing this once a month or so, because it just keeps your skills sharp and it keeps you more confident when you're on the road. The last thing to practice is figure of eights. I don't have any clips of me doing this here, but you want to get something like a cone or some kind of obstacle, put it in the middle of a wide open space, and then try and do figure of eights around that obstacle. Do these both ways, so if you start going clockwise first, try go anti-clockwise, and pretty much just get used to that. I think the figure of 8 is the hardest exercise you can do, so if you're good at doing that on your bike, you're going to be really good at controlling it, and your turns and everything are going to be well up to scratch. But let me know if you guys found this helpful, if you have any other tips. How often do you guys go out and practice? Personally, I love a bike session where I go out and just practice turns and things like that, so let me know if you guys find that fun as well. and I'll see you in the next one.